Hey, welcome to Car Guy Confessions, brought to you by ARP. I'm Jeff Smith. This is my car buddy Cam Benty and car builder Steve Strope, and we're going to tell you some stories.
It's only gonna deteriorate from here.
Okay, well, I'm pretty good at that. Okay.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Car Guy Confessions with Jeff Smith. From my friend here, Cam Benty. Our special guest star, Ron Mangus. Did I do that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, my nickname is Ron the Stitcher.
Ron the Stitcher.
I have heard that. Tell you how I got that name.
Yeah, okay. Hang on that one second.
Right.
So we want to make sure and acknowledge our sponsor, ARP-Bolts.com, and of course our friends at the Grand National Roadster Show 75th anniversary. Kevin and anniversary. Did I say that wrong?
It's okay.
Anniversary.
I think we got the gist
syllables.
of it. We got the gist of it.
Too many syllables. Yes, thank you very much. That was easy to do, wasn't it? Okay. All right. So want to thank them for helping us out here. We're in the corner here. We're on the floor.
Right.
We got all these people here. This is really kind of fun. There's a lot of energy.
There is.
So we want to get started. We want to talk about interiors.
Right.
Because that's what you do.
So how did you get the nickname?
It's
Ron the Stitcher.
The Stitcher. So back in the day, in my early start of my career, I did camper boots. In mini trucks, Chevy pickups. It didn't, because I had a brother. My brother actually started me out when I was 13 years old.
Really?
He opened up a shop in my hometown, which is Bloomington, California.
Okay.
And
where is that?
Right by Fontana, Rialto, San Bernardino, Inland Empire.
Got it.
The safest thing. And he didn't have any help. He had his wife, himself, and two little twin girls. And so my mom would pick me up from junior high school, my 8th grade, take me to my brother's. I had 2 hours to 3 hours a day sweeping, pulling staples out of whatever he was doing.
Right.
And my brother took in anything. So
what kind of cars was he working on?
Rolls Royce.
Everything.
Wow.
Chevy pickup.
Okay.
We had a local company that restored tractors and old trucks for construction work. And my job was to strip everything that was dirty and disgusting and get it ready for us to put a cover on.
To make it look pretty. Yeah.
And that's kind of where I started.
Right.
And
so just as the basic, how old were you? 8th grade. What is 8th grade?
13.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then after that, we kind of went, my brother started establishing his business, and I still worked there every day after school, my high school, through high school.
Sure.
And then they had a work program, so I signed up for the work program. So I was able to leave school my junior and senior year at 1 o'clock in the afternoon because I had work program with my brother. Had a job, and I was like, and this is pretty great.
Right.
You know? And I got A's in those classes.
Yeah.
You know?
Sure, absolutely.
So versus
and who knew whether it would work, but apparently it did.
Yeah, and upholstered my first car at 15 and a half.
What kind of car?
55 Chevy, 2-door Bel Air Post.
Okay.
Every time I walk around the show, and I see a 55 Chevy Bel Air Post, I just go, "Oh my God, why do I not have one of those still?"
Yeah. What kind of interior?
Black.
Black.
Was it the classic Diamond Tough?
No.
I
was not. I was not at that caliber.
Okay.
I was at a caliber where a plain truck seat and piping was what I could pretty much. And my brother obviously coached me through it. You know. And
Naugahyde, yes.
What's that?
Did you use Naugahyde? What'd you use? Yeah.
Actually, believe it or not, the brand back then, there was a brand called Naugahyde.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was a vinyl.
Yeah.
And it was like a heavy textured vinyl. And I put it in it. And he helped me, and my dad also was one of those guys that could do just about anything, and he would come down and help us at the shop. And
what did he do for a living?
He was an iron worker.
Okay.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he took me to work one time. They were building a bridge on the way to Needles.
A bridge? Wow. And you decided
and
not
I
doing
went to
this.
work.
Yeah. Did you like it?
No.
Okay. There you go.
No. Came home and said, "Dad, I don't ever want to look or touch or have to wear gloves to work."
Yeah, no kidding.
Steel. I mean, it was
just thimbles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after that, I pretty much got into bought a Camaro, '68 Camaro because I crashed my '55 into a curb.
Of course.
Your first car.
Yeah. Right.
That's all the way it works.
Doing the wrong
We've
things.
all been there.
Yeah. We've all been there. Had that kind of deal.
Just for perspective, what did you pay for your '55 Chevrolet?
I paid $800.
There you go. So there you go.
Okay.
$800.
The
guys.
good old days. The good old days. Absolutely.
Took it home. Me and my best friend.
And what year was that?
76. 1971.
Okay, wow, pretty close.
1971.
Because I bought my 55 in 72, but it was a shell.
Yeah.
No motor, no transmission, no rear end. I paid $500 for a shell.
Yeah.
But it did have an
Yeah.
interior in it.
Yeah.
But an old race car, and I had to put it together.
Then he let Eric Estrada drive it. You know what happens after
Yeah,
that?
that was a real mistake. We won't go there.
283 Power
283.
Glide.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I thought that was like the baddest car
Feeling a
that
rocket.
I was
Yeah.
driving.
Yeah.
So I crashed it, and I sold it back to the guy that I bought it from.
Yeah.
And it had paint and interior, and he goes, well, I'll give you $2,000 for it. With it.
Crashed.
Well, I broke an A-arm is all. I hit a curb.
Oh, that's
Okay.
not too
broke
bad.
an A-arm off.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Went down. I had an uncle, my Uncle Johnny. He was the guy. My mom would say, well, if your bike's broke, ride down to the corner.
Yeah.
Right around from where I live. Ride to your Uncle Johnny's. He'll help you. And I'd go over there. He'd say, okay, dig in my pile. We'll find a tube or we'll patch
Sure.
it up. And
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
he
yeah.
was the guy.
That's
good.
And we ran over there and he welded it back up, fixed it, and I sold it. And then I bought a 68 Camaro for
Okay.
my senior year,
Nice.
1973.
All right.
And I had a cousin that was into drag racing, and he raced modified production
Got it. Yeah.
cars back in the
Yep.
day.
Yeah, Mr. Vogelin.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you
And
go.
we got the car, it had a 2-barrel, and he said, no, that ain't gonna work. Threw it off, threw a manifold, carburetor, ignition, headers.
Yep.
Drove into my senior year, and every day that I leave my senior, go to work, I'd light them N50s at the
N50s,
time.
which was a big
on the
tire.
back.
That's a big
And I
tire.
just light
Back
it out
then.
of the parking lot, and finally, one day
On your way to work.
on my way back, on my way leaving school, going
Leaving
to work.
school.
Yeah.
And one day they finally said, Mangus, you can't be doing that every day you leave the parking lot. So I just did it outside the school grounds, not on the school grounds.
Right, there you
so
go.
they couldn't do anything about
Kind
it.
of fun.
Yep, yeah.
Kind
Yeah,
of fun.
yeah.
So
That's very
kind
funny.
of that was the start of my
That's
really
very funny.
love of the automobile,
Right.
the hot rod thing.
Sure.
And drove that, I don't know, 2 years.
So who gave you the name Stitcher, actually?
Okay, that came from a guy named Steve Stater. He was back in
Why is that name
when
familiar?
Truckin' Magazine, Hot
Yes.
V-Dub.
I remember him, sure.
Steve Stater lived right in Fontana.
Okay.
Well, we met each other. I was in the mini trucks, and he was kind of into that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we met each other, and he started coming over. He goes, Ron, he goes, I do articles. I write articles.
Yeah.
And he goes, I like to do how-tos.
Okay.
And he
Right.
said, I would like to come to your shop, my brother's shop,
Yeah.
and he said, I would like to photograph you taking
Doing an interior
doing
thing?
a camper boot.
Yeah.
We used to do sunroofs. We used to
Okay.
cut holes in brand new trucks, man. Crazy.
The Toyotas and Nissans, or Datsun, I guess.
Datsuns, yeah, Datsuns.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so we had a local dealership that they would buy. They would send a truck to my brother's. We would put door panels, carpets, a custom seat, and sunroof
Yeah.
for $600.
Wow. Is it
And
all
that's
Nog-
in '74.
is this
70
Naugahyde stuff too as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, our velour. We were doing
Velour.
velour, baby.
Oh, now
We
we're
were
talking.
stepping it up.
Right. Rip open a couple of Elvis paintings.
Yeah, exactly, dude. I mean, that's what we, and
That was the
thing.
time. That was the time.
time.
Yeah,
And we
exactly.
would like do maybe a little roll with a row of buttons in
Uh-huh.
it,
Nice.
just kind of give the seat some
Nice.
attitude. So we
Yeah,
did that for
yeah.
quite a few years, and I
Well, the
did that.
material had to be cheap.
It was.
So it was just all time.
We were buying OEM fabrics at the time.
Really?
Yeah. So we had a couple salesmen come by, and they'd have a big old swatch, and they go, "Hey, these are OEM products."
Yeah.
And we'd look at them. My brother go, "Yeah, we'll take 10 yards of that. We'll take 20 yards of that," and whatever the color
Nice.
at the time was.
Uh-huh.
And browns were kind of like the
Yeah,
color.
a lot of brown
Right,
back
Yeah.
then.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I remember the Datsuns were seemingly they were always orange.
So,
They
so
were
how long
orange
did you
with
stay with
brown.
your brother before you spun off on your own?
Well, I got fired quite a few times before I
Well, his
spun.
family, right,
Before
yeah.
I spun off. So,
Has your brother fired you?
oh yeah, several times.
Well, you give it. Why would he fire you?
I probably spoke out of turn, maybe sometimes,
Okay.
because
Okay.
I
Didn't take his girlfriend or something.
no. He's 10 years older than I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
we got a
okay.
few years apart.
Didn't take his wife then.
No,
okay.
not at all. So she was actually like a mother to me because
Oh,
she
very
was,
nice.
10 years older and
She
I'm
would take
13,
care.
and
Yeah.
and then my brother would just scream and yell at me. And finally, as I got older, I was like, that's not correct. We don't need this. And I'd say something back and just get out. I'd say other words, but he's just get out of here. And then 3 or 4 days later, my mom would call him up, son.
Yeah.
That's your brother. There's no reason for you to. You need the help.
Yeah.
And so I'd go back, and that probably happened till I was 22. I can remember it clearly.
Okay.
I was 22 years old, and I finally left. And I went home. I was just a newly married, and I went home and I told my wife. I said, "Hey, I left. I quit. I was done. Right? So I left, and I went to work for a guy named Bob McKieran. And
Bob McKieran.
Yeah,
okay.
he's
Same
real
era?
well known
in
San Bernardino
area.
Okay.
And there was a car show called the Titan Car Show. It was at San Bernardino at the Orange Show.
Okay.
And there was a guy named Tom Sturkle, which I'm taking you guys back deep. So
Yeah.
Steve Stater, I definitely know him. I remember Steve Stater.
So
yes,
we would go back we'd go to this car show, young kids and stuff, and I said, someday, I tell my friends, see that Tom Sturkle name, see that Bob McKieran name on these custom cars and hot rods,
like on their
and
plaques
I said,
and stuff.
I said, someday
that's going
to be me.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I still remember that. So I actually got to go to work for Bob McKieran.
Nice.
At 22 years old.
That's right. And he was in the same area.
He
as
was
Fontana.
right there, and he had 10 years on me.
Okay.
And he was established, and I went to work for him.
Yeah.
And he actually told me, he goes, I know you're not going to work here long, but as long as you're here, you need to work.
Yeah.
And he said, you will not be here long, but I need help. You need a job.
Right.
Because he knew what was going to happen.
He kind of felt that. Knowing what I've already.
And that's not an unusual situation
No,
at
and
all.
I have a couple situations that I will share with you about
Okay.
Gabe Lopez, Amondos, Mark Lopez. I can name off some pretty big names that have came through my brother's shop and my shop.
Okay.
So it's kind of cool to look
It
across
is.
here at Armando's. He worked for quite a few years, and I am so proud every time I see him or I look at his work and how he's established himself in our industry. It's just amazing.
Okay.
That
Very
I
cool.
was a part of somebody's life.
And that evolution.
Yes.
Yeah, and maintaining it. That's very cool.
And so then that kind of, that when I worked for Bob for a little bit, and then my brother called me back. But before I went back, I had a cousin, and we decided to open up a shop because he was working at my brother's too. So we opened up a shop, and my cousin named it The Shop. Because that's where you going. Where are you going? I'm going to the shop.
Going to the shop.
Right. Where are you going today? Oh yeah.
Simple enough.
We're going to go hang out at the shop.
Right.
So we did that for a couple years.
Right.
And didn't work out. We're both really strong-headed, very opinionated, and we were really close. We were raised together. And so it was really hard on us because we were more like brothers than we were like cousins. So that happened. He went to work for Stater Brothers Warehouse, and I went back to my brother.
Okay.
So I went back to my brother for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, maybe a little bit longer. So in my 30s, I decided I'm going to build a house, right? Okay. So I bought some property. Had done okay on a couple real estate projects prior, and I built a house, and the house wasn't quite finished, and I came home to my first wife, and I said, well, I quit again. She was livid.
I bet.
Yeah.
But there's a great friend of mine. He's not here yet today. He should be here today. His name is Dave Sconyers, and we had a Volkswagen in my brother's shop, and we were working on it. He went down there, pulled the car out of my brother's shop, said, if Ron's not working on it, I'm taking my car. How much do I owe you? He brought his car to me. And I was working out of a 3-car garage, and that's where basically my career really
started.
And that's where I started establishing my style, my designs.
Hey, we'd like to thank our sponsor, ARP-bolts.com. We got a fantastic little backdrop here. They make an outstanding series of bolts, almost anything you would need for engines, chassis, things like that. In fact, we were at lunch today, and the guy asked you about the bolt on the back of your shirt, and and I said, well, it's really about a head bolt. They neck the stem down of the bolt on a short, small block Chevy head bolt, so the clamp load is even across 3 different head bolt lengths on a small block Chevy. And, so that's the kind of technology that you get out of ARP. And we've all got stories on all that stuff.
Well, for a translation of what he said, call ARPbolts.com.
But the message is that you can't get any better than that.
No, you cannot.
There you go.
Nope.
We'd like to thank our friends at InTheGarageMedia.com. They have 3 fantastic magazines. They've got Classic Truck Performance. They have Modern Rotting and my favorite, All Chevy Performance with Nick, my buddy Nick,
you're
the editor.
Biased.
So, yes, of course. But it's a fantastic book. They're doing print media, which is, of course, our favorite. So
in color and everything.
In color and everything, and you can get your car on the cover of one of those books, which is a fun
that's a
deal.
lot.
Great tech.
Great
written
tech.
by
You know, not always written by me,
famous
but
people.
Yeah,
Famous people
Not
have written all the
always
tech.
written by me.
that's right.
Just
So
pick it
check
up and
them
read
out
it.
at InTheGarageMedia.com, and they're our friends, and they will thank you.
Was not your style evolving? I mean, from when you started at 13, obviously you're doing what they're telling you to do. But were you not seeing things? I mean, did you come to shows and say, hey, I like that, I like this, I don't like that?
And my brother actually is very, very talented, and he created this look. They call it the hard look, where you actually cut foam out and made these designs, and then you glue the material into this foam. And he started doing these seats with radical shape and all this stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, you know, and I'm like, and obviously I followed suit and figured it out and started doing it, and then there was a
So did he teach you that, or you just had to watch and he would?
No, we actually just kind of figured it out. And at the time, there was some other people that had worked for my brother.
Right.
Well, once I started establishing myself, and then I ended up building a shop behind my home. And 3 of the guys that worked for my brother left and came to work for me. So it was kind
Heard
of
that story before.
Yeah, you know, they were like, hey, you know.
Well, that had to make your brother really happy.
Yeah, I wasn't very happy.
No, I bet.
Well, my brother wasn't, again,
Not a people person?
Without my brother, there would be no Gabe Lopez. There would be no Ron Mangus.
Got it.
So there's a lot of things that my brother gave this industry that nobody even knows about. And I like to tell this story because it's in my world. I think it's very important to know how these people actually evolved and became who they are today.
Everyone wants to say that they're self-made, you know, but if you really look at it,
standing
really
on the shoulders
there's
of
a lot
somebody.
of people that help you along the way. And they do it selflessly, you know, and there's maybe not necessarily intentionally, but they still help, and that's great, you know.
So I mean, that was a great thing, and and matter of fact, one of the guys that came to work for me just retired.
Okay.
So what is that, like 30?
Is your brother around still?
My brother is. Matter of fact, I just spoke to my brother a couple weeks ago.
Where's he located?
He lives in Desert Hot Springs.
Okay. Oh, okay, sure.
And
not too far.
No. So we had some.
He doesn't come to the shows anymore?
No, I was hoping he was going to come. I really wanted him to come to this one.
Yeah, it's a good one. 75th.
Yeah. But I mean, I have so many things that throughout my career that I have done.
Right.
And been part of. I can name you all the names. So I got that going, got my shop going. And
so the shop was actually functioning at this point. What year are we talking about? Late 70s?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, late 70s.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Great
and
time.
Steve Stater, man, the guy was still coming over. We're still like doing how-tos in a hot rod, and he's writing all these stories.
Yeah.
And he would come over and he would spend a week, 2 weeks with me. I go, what are you doing? He goes, well, I really don't have anything going on, but I know there's a story here, and I'm going to go home and I'm going to put it in a file. And when somebody calls up and say, hey, you got any tech on how to build a seat?
Yeah, here it is.
Or how to do a door panel?
Yeah.
Or how do you sew something? So I started that with him up until, the 90. He was killed in...
Steve Stater?
Yeah, he was killed. Actually, it was a drug-related deal.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it was sad.
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
he was actually the heir. There's a food chain called Stater Brothers.
Yeah. I was just going to say,
Yeah, and that was his family.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if somebody comes to you and wants a custom interior, they may or may not know what they want. Does that happen quite
Yes.
often?
I can imagine.
Yes.
So they just come to you and say, I want something spectacular, but I don't know what it is.
Correct. That's pretty much been my basis of my whole life.
Okay.
Up until, I would say, till I started working for Boyd Connington.
Okay.
Did you work with Fouse?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I didn't know. I've created a lot of his interior designs. Actually, I'm very proud of this moment. I'm going to tell you guys something. 1992, I did an amber car for Boyd Connington.
Really?
It belonged to Dennis Varney.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The car is here today
Okay.
in the building on display.
Oh, that's cool.
Still has my interior from 1992.
Wow.
Chip Fouse Design. The story goes, the car came to me on a Friday morning.
Uh-oh.
I called in my friend Bob McCurran, which I mentioned earlier
Right,
in the broadcast.
Right.
I called another friend of mine, Jack Anderson, that was one of my mentors.
Sure.
And I called him, and then I had 3 employees. So that put us up to 6.
Wow.
Sunday night.
Now the overhead's happening.
Sunday night
Yeah.
at 11:30, 12-ish, picked the car up from my shop.
Oh, boy.
Went back to Boyd's, got detailed, left in the trailer Tuesday morning for Oakland Roadster Show.
Yeah, sure.
And that's my first big
display. Yeah.
What amber?
my work
right?
that got out to the world,
Recognized.
recognized,
Right. Yeah.
magazine, this.
Because that car appeared all over the place.
Oh yeah, Dennis is
Yeah.
incredible.
That was a big deal.
And that was my first win in an amber car.
So
I want to know something really important. How was the interview with Coddington?
I got to be honest.
He was good to me. I mean, the times I dealt with him were always solid. You know.
After my turn was up, is what I called it.
Yeah.
People say, "Oh, you don't work for Boyd no more." I said, "No, Boyd had a special way of doing what he did, and he always wanted the latest, greatest in his eyes. That something's, hey, going to be better." And I had ran my course.
Okay. All right.
But through the whole course, after that, whatever I needed, he said, "Ron, you need wheels for whatever you're doing, your Astrovan."
Right.
I had Astrovans lowered for my first wife that she tore the wheels up every time I turned around. I was having the outer hoops put on them wheels.
Wow.
And 07, I think I bought a Tahoe, and that's when I met Dwayne from American Hot Rod.
Yeah.
I actually hauled his Harley to Sturgis for him, and I called Boyd up and said, "Dude, I got this brand new Tahoe. I need some wheels." He goes, "Okay, go to this place, blah blah blah. Tell me what you need." I go in there, pick him up. I call him back. "What do I owe you?" He said, "You don't owe me nothing." So just, he took great care of me after the fact, and then that's when. There was several upholsterers.
Right.
Vic Kitchens was one. There's a Bobby Griffey, out of Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Actually, he did the Billy Gibbons, the Cadzilla.
Yep.
You know about that?
Yep.
Yeah. He did that car. And then I did, do you guys know the other car that's pretty famous, the Luma Coupe?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
It's over at the Peterson Museum.
Yes. I actually got to do that car. And I was trying to be ahead of my time a little bit. There's not one stitch
That's pulled
in that interior.
Really?
Not one stitch. It's all done with panels that hide things.
Wow.
Guys, at the time, I grew up too with my brother doing a lot of Porsches and Mercedes, Jaguars. So a lot of my stuff kind of comes from that world.
Okay.
And so if you ever look at a Porsche and stuff, they do things and they roll this thing around a corner and then they make like an insert that fits tight inside
to tighten it up.
to hide where they had to pull something. They don't seam it. They do these little kind of trick things.
Okay.
So I did that whole inside of that car.
Wow.
It was all made out of surfboard foam and then all sculptured.
Wow.
And I did it with a guy named Petey that worked for Boyd. I did it on site, except for the seat. And I covered everything with no sewing whatsoever.
Wow.
A lot of people don't know that about that car, but that was just
That's
when they got your nickname that way.
yeah, I was Stitcher, but I wasn't stitching nothing. But I was just trying to be.
You've been gluey.
That car was supposed to be ahead of
the
its
seat
time.
covers were done that way.
Everything.
Wow.
I came up with a concept, and
What a jigsaw puzzle.
it was. That's what it was.
That's
It was
great.
like a puzzle. But if you ever look at the car now, it's just it still looks
I'll
like
take a look at it. I work
What
over there.
material were you using?
leather.
That's leather.
Yeah,
okay.
that was leather.
All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a cool concept. So I was
Right.
able to do like a concept car that I really didn't know that
So
I
two
was.
pieces came together, then you just fold them over like that? Is
No,
that
they
what
would
you did?
it would roll around a corner, and
Right.
then a flat panel
would
fit
come up against
inside
it.
of it, so it was flushed in.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, it just
Wow.
it just came
Crazy.
to me. Actually,
Crazy.
I got to thank probably my friend Jack Anderson, because he was very
Right.
ahead of his time. But he, like I said, he had 10 years on me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd call him up, Jack. What do you think about this, man? Can I help?
Yeah,
And
sure.
he would help me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
that was cool.
Yeah.
So
But you just
Oh,
touched
that's
on
great.
something with leather and such. I mean, over your tenure, chiefly Naugahyde, GM Naugahyde
Right.
for the beginning, but the diversity of different materials today
Yes.
has got to be crazy. I mean,
You
no
know-
more velour and such, but is
Yeah.
it or is it? Is it?
well, we've kind of switched to the Alcantara, which is
Sure.
that high-end suede.
Sure.
Okay.
There's a couple other products that are mimicking them. Same but not.
Right.
And so I found a couple of those. Ultra Suede is
Right.
really becoming one of my more favorite pieces to use because it has more movement. I can
Yeah.
actually cover things a little bit better with it.
Alcantara is
Yeah.
actually a vegan interior, is
Yes.
it not?
Yeah.
Do you know about the vegan?
Yeah.
Don't suck on it.
Yeah.
That's
No
right.
shit. Yeah, I was like, sorry.
No, that's all right.
Okay.
No,
So-
but
because it
that's
seems
literally
like styles-
it's not. It's actually a complete synthetic, and it's made out
Really?
of what's it made out of?
I'm not a.
But
Don't,
it's not.
Yeah.
Literally,
Yeah.
they call interiors vegan interior.
Vegan?
Yeah, because it's made from synthetic.
Synthetics.
Yeah.
Completely synthetic.
So it seems like over the years, trends come and go, and it seems like it's more materials. It's also style, but it's also materials,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, we go back to my brother. My brother created this hard look design.
Okay.
And so when somebody came to work for me, I learned how to do the hard look design.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of got known for that with
Right.
tweed.
Right,
in
'cause
the
that was big for a
80 in the
long time.
80s
Oh, yeah,
into the
yeah,
early
yeah.
90s.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then we started the tweed leather deal and started mixing leather with the tweed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then that kind of went out around 1990.
Is that hard to work with? Is the tweed
Oh
and the
no,
leather
the
together?
tweed is like the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah, 'cause it's
you
soft.
could cover a
Yeah.
freaking football with it. You could, and again, I researched it out because I had built myself a
Yeah.
37 two-door sedan, and it had a killer stereo in it, which
Sure.
nobody ever was doing stereos.
Right.
And I hired a stereo guy that I found, and we had 11 speakers, Macintosh amps, and we had the best of everything in this
Yeah.
car, and you couldn't see one speaker. But it was done in a all wool interior.
Okay.
I two-toned it.
Wow.
I mean, it was,
Wow.
and I took it to the LA Roaster Show. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where I started even establishing myself more because every year I got to have something there, and then I learned, well, you put a car in your booth. Okay, and then I found out about Blackie Edgearian
Yeah.
and these people, and so I didn't realize this, but I would have a car in my booth, and there's some other guys, Jim Bones.
Yeah.
He's a real early builder. I did
Okay.
a lot of cars for him.
BOHM or something
Yeah,
like that.
and then Rick Dorr. You guys know Rick
Sure,
Dorr?
sure.
Fat Jack.
Yeah.
Yep,
I worked
Fat
for
Jack
Fat
Robinson,
Jack.
sure.
I worked
No
for
Tony Nancy.
Tony Nancy is my hero, man.
Yeah.
That was like my guy.
Well, he was the first guy that
Yeah.
really made
Yeah.
Really
a
got
signature
sort of
there.
national attention, so to speak.
Yeah.
The magazines
Oh,
helped him
yeah,
out and
yeah.
made him famous. Yeah.
And
yeah.
that was one of the guys that I just really just loved.
Yeah.
Reading the magazines
Yeah.
and such.
So
Yeah.
what material is hot right now?
Alcantara and
Alcantara.
leather.
Okay.
Leather.
Yeah.
Leather still.
Yeah. Now, is there a version of that or something else that you think would be more traditional, that would something last? Because there's always going to be trends. There's always going to be things that happen. And then there seems like there's always those traditional kind of looks that always work.
Yeah, there still is, but the vinyls. There's so many great vinyls. Actually, I know I'm going to mention this name, but there's a guy named Sid Shavers.
Okay.
Which
Okay.
is
Yeah.
another guy that's just phenomenal. Me and him are about the same age, and he's does a lot of work for Roy Brizio. But he's well known in our industry, just an incredible person, and so he uses a lot of Mercedes vinyls and stuff. He does leather too, but he has his own style and the way he does things. But I still like leather. I'm a fan of leather.
Yeah, and that is something that will never go out of style, right?
No.
Yeah.
Is the leather mostly OEM, or do you buy other? Because I was thinking, like, it's funny, you look for paints, and you got this chip book from 1965 Chevrolet whatever, and you get this series of colors. But then when you go to like an Audi color, it's like 10 times more money. I mean, all the paint's ridiculous anyway. But going for leathers, say you need a Mercedes leather.
Okay, so what has happened in our industry? There is companies that have realized that they can get into the automotive industry, but they actually softened up the process. And actually they're bringing this leather that actually still has the durability like an OEM product, but it's not as, the chemical that they use is a different chemical, so it's not as stiff.
Got it. Easier to work with?
Way easier to work with.
Okay.
And so I have this couple companies that I use because and the quality, and I've gotten used to their way.
Yeah.
And then when somebody else tries to come in my door and go, hey, we got this leather, blah, 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 you should try this. And I'm like, here, does it feel like this? Does it go like this when you pull on it? Does it do this? Well, it's not. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
because I've taken the people that work for me, and when they do something, are cutting something, they know exactly that they know there's not going to be a hole in it. There's not going to be these gnarly flaws and things all over the place. So when I do bring something new to the table, it's like we're starting over in kind of a sense because, we got to check the back of the leather. We have to check all this, which we still do no matter what we're cutting. But sometimes you got to be really more careful when you're bringing a new product in. But I got people all the time trying to do that. Hey, you should try this. You should try that. So I'm kind of, I like to find the product that works.
Sure.
And I can warranty it if there's a problem. And I know the company's going to back me when I say, hey, I had this happen, this leather, it ripped or it did this. Okay, Ron, we'll send you another hide. What do you need?
Well, that's cool. Yeah. That's very cool.
It's fairly durable too, right? Leather's really durable.
Is the construction of the seats, I mean, I've done seats before. I usually OEM seats, and it's hog rings and all that kind of stuff. What's the construction like these days for a custom seat?
So we don't do boat interiors in our.
That's what I call those boat interiors.
Basically. Yeah, I quit doing boat interiors, but I build boat interiors all the time. So we make a lot of stuff out of wood. We have a webbing that we use, and we have foam that we've researched and has longevity and softness and stiffness. So we actually build our own seats. We'll do them. There's a company called Glide Engineering, which was actually back in the late 90s. There was a guy named Jim, and he started the company. And actually what was cool is he would come to my shop because I always had hot rods in my shop. And he would actually come to my shop, and I would actually be able to help him on the sizes and what we needed, what the industry needed, because we were going and buying Ford Granada seats, cutting 10 inches out of them and putting them in 47 or 34 Ford coupes, and I mean we were, and I go to my Uncle Johnny's, and he would weld it up back to my Uncle Johnny, and weld it together and use that car because it had a flip backrest, 2-door coupe,
and
then they bolted in a 46 to 48 Ford. You could take that Ford Granada seat, drill 4 new holes in the floor, bolt it in,
drop it in.
Took the seat down 2 inches, put the back rest right below the window line. Perfect. And we had pretty much always had decent foam. They weren't like, sometimes.
Do you sculpt all your foam, I presume?
Yeah.
Do you have to use like a hot wire or something like that?
There is a way to cut it with hot wire, but I'm going to plug my buddy Sid Shavers.
Okay,
if you guys want to learn.
I want to learn
how to cut foam.
Here we go. Easy, bud.
Yes, very easy.
Okay, very good.
Sid Shavers. I'm sure it's sidshavers.com or type his name in. He has a video on how
to
cut foam and build your own seat.
Really?
So I kind of had a general idea, and again, been friends with him, and
Sure.
we see each other a couple times a year. And he said, you really should look at my video. And he said, yeah, you're probably right. I probably should.
We'll have to plug it in
but
here.
I do it this way.
We'll plug it on the video. We'll go figure out where to put a link to it. Sir.
So he bandsaw.
Yeah.
And 4-inch thick foam.
Yeah.
Cut a design out of a piece of chipboard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lay it on the foam. Mark it. Go to the bandsaw.
Just cut it around.
Trim it.
Trim it.
Wow.
Glue them together. Yeah. And voila.
Simple as that.
They freaking shape.
Yeah.
And then you sand the corners and shape your corners.
Sure.
And so getting back to that, so in 1999.
And it doesn't matter what density of foam you're talking about.
No,
okay. All
no,
right.
it doesn't matter. You can cut thick, you can cut soft, you can cut. The bandsaw became my best friend.
I bet.
We use it all the time, and that's our technique. So in 1999, I was approached by my local college, San Bernardino Valley College.
Oh.
Well, how I got into there was I wrote a book, a how-to book.
Okay.
I have a how-to book that I gave up. Some people were mad at me because I gave up a lot of little things in the industry, and the only way you would have known them was either working for
in
me,
the industry,
and you would have learned those tricks.
You bet.
And so I wrote this how-to book, and it got me into my local college. I taught for 4 years.
Okay.
I feel that was the best 4 years of my time.
What time are you talking? What years are we talking?
1999 to
99.
04.
Oh, so you're fully established. Your business is rocking, and everything's
and
good.
I had just went through.
What made it so special?
I went through. I was going through a divorce.
Okay.
And I was just like.
Is there a class? Is there a class for that?
Yeah, for divorce. Well, I don't know about that, but it took me. It took my time.
Yeah.
I had 2 kids. They were with me.
Yeah.
My son and my daughter was running amok. She was 18, 19 years old at the time.
Sure.
And my son was 14. So we were junior drag racing. So I had him.
Oh, okay.
I had him in a place.
Right.
I went to school.
Nice.
He was fine. No big deal.
Very nice.
And I started teaching. And what I got out of it was I got people that looked, because I was scared. I was literally scared to walk in that room and thinking, I got 18 people signed up for this class.
Yeah.
And the dean,
And they're relying on me.
And the dean of the school said, we're lucky that we get 12 to 14 normally.
Wow. So
and he
it's
says,
popular.
you have 18 people.
That's a lot.
In your first class.
Yeah.
So I'm calling my friend, again, I'm going back to Jack Anderson, Bob McKieran. I'm calling both these guys up, and I'm going, dude, I have 18 people that want to pay. And my friend Jack said, talk about what you know.
Yeah.
Talk about
always
what
the way.
you know.
That's really good advice.
That was the advice he gave me. He said, just talk about what you know.
Sure.
And I walked in that room, and I said, okay, hey, my name's Ron Mangus. I'm here to help you learn how to build interiors.
Right.
And my first question was, how many of you are you here to upholster your own car? And I would say probably 6 people raised their hand.
Yeah.
I said, then you're in the wrong class.
Really?
Straight up.
Really?
Right.
I said, you are in the wrong class.
Because it's more about learning the basics of the skills.
Exactly.
And then you could go build your interior.
I said, I'm going to teach you how it starts. I'm not going to teach you how to tear something apart and pattern it out.
Right.
I'm going to teach you how to make it from nothing, because that's how I was taught.
Okay.
To make a pattern.
That's really good.
That was exactly how I was taught.
Right.
So when I wrote my book, that's what I stressed. You need to know how to make a cover for a lampshade, a football, or a truck seat.
Okay.
Or whatever you're going to do.
So
but if you know how to make a pattern and do that. So that was my technique. So the class went so well for the first 2 years, they actually added an advanced class. So it went for 2 more years, and I had a total advanced class. And what happened is all the people that were in the beginning class, entry-level class, were all re-signed up, because guess what?
They can't get enough of it.
And then we became friends.
Yeah.
And I have several guys that were here today.
Did you hire any of them?
I did for a while.
Yeah.
There was a couple guys I brought in for a while. But again, they wanted to go on and do
their own thing.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, sure.
And so
I get it.
I have that. And I have that. That can't be taken away from me. I
No.
gave something back.
Sure, you did.
Yeah.
And that
That's
was
great.
probably
That's a big deal.
It was. And time again, it helped me through this
You bet.
little rough patch of
Sure.
Yeah.
life that you don't expect to
Sure.
be put in at 22 years of marriage.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah.
That's
you
tough.
know,
Yeah,
I thought I was flying good.
I
and
completely understand.
So
You know.
Yeah.
You know.
I've been there.
You know,
I've been there.
It's kind of
Yeah.
You bet.
a fine line of
Yeah.
life.
Yep.
And so then
Right.
I started riding Harleys.
Yeah.
Well, there's your problem.
Yeah, that was. And so I became.
That became the
Well,
stitcher
what
because
happened
you
is I
sewed
was like
people
kind
together.
of like all I did was work, come home, teach 2 nights a week,
Yeah.
come back and take my kid drag racing
Yeah.
on the weekends.
Yeah.
right,
With the junior drag racing program.
right, which was a big deal.
It was.
Do you know George Phillips?
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew George.
Yeah.
I worked with George at Dragster in 78 to 79.
Okay.
Yeah, so there you go. Hey,
Thank you.
that's it.
Yeah.
And so my neighbor was into motorcycles, and he had a little shop in his backyard, and I helped.
Yeah.
I upholstered cars for him.
Right.
And so we one day he said, "Dude," he says, "you need to do something besides work."
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said, "Why don't you take my wife's Sportster out with me, and let's go over for a ride?" And he goes, "Well, when was the last time you rode?" I said, "Let's see, I was 19.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I was 20."
Sure.
23 years old or something. Here
I get
I'm
it.
42 years old, 43 years old, and
Yeah.
I rode that bike, and it was like I never forgot how to ride them. But
That's
I rode
awesome.
dirt bikes my whole life,
Sure, yeah.
3-wheelers and all that kind of crazy thing.
3-wheelers. Nobody sees those
Ooh,
anymore.
yeah.
Try to
There's-
find one of
there's
those.
a reason.
And
There's a
the
reason.
price has gone
Yeah.
like stupid.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I started riding Harleys.
Yeah.
And progressed up. Got a Harley. I started with Hondas and Yamahas because I was like, I'm not spending that kind of money
Good
for.
place to start.
I'm only going to ride this on the weekend. I'm not, or every couple weekends, or whatever it was.
Right.
And I just fell in love with it, and then I met my second wife.
Okay.
Because of
Harleys.
my Harley.
Oh, really?
Nice.
Okay. So you
Yeah.
still ride now then?
No, we hung it up about 10 years ago.
Okay.
We've been married. We just celebrated our 20th anniversary.
Oh,
Hey,
congratulations.
great.
And
absolutely.
so
Yeah.
we're both, we want to make 22 because she was married 22 years to her first husband. I was married 22 years to my first wife. So our goal is like,
That's a
we're
goal. Yeah,
going
there
to
you go.
22. We're in a minute. I don't care.
And then we're out of here.
Yeah. No, it's been a great life.
Yeah.
I'm very blessed and thankful.
That's good.
Yeah.
So
Well, your stuff must be. We need to go take a look at some of your stuff.
Yeah,
Get some
absolutely.
pictures. Get
Thank
some
you
pictures.
for coming by
That's
and
right.
helping us out.
Oh, we're done?
It's been,
Yeah, which kind of car-
don't
I
get me
love that.
going.
It always goes fast.
Any,
does.
any
Probably
cars here, by the
45
way, we should go take a look at. Just to-
Yes, there is a 41 Willys in the
41.
main building.
Okay.
That's Larry Ucentos, a local guy from around here.
Okay.
That he's Bob Bowder, Pete
okay.
Shaporis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those guys had
Sure.
had their hands in it. And then there's also Lorenzini brought a car for the Amber, which is orange 32. There's 3 of them, but it's the only one with headers hanging out the side.
Okay.
It's a tribute to Pete Shaporis.
Okay.
And
Nice.
again, I worked for Pete for a long time.
You had
Did
all
a lot of work.
all the stars.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I was
Did you ever
very-
meet Tony Nancy, by the way?
No, that was
Never
one
did,
guy that
okay.
really was, but
Yeah.
I
Just curious.
was young.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
there's those are
Those
2
two.
pretty substantial cars.
We'll go
and
look.
then and I'm in Building 7. You guys stop by. I have 6 cars in there. I have a really awesome 47 Cadillac convertible that's there.
47.
Wow.
Okay. Wow.
And
We'll
I
have
have
to go check them out. Maybe some photos we can post them on the story.
Well,
So,
we'll
yeah.
definitely do that.
That'd be great.
Excellent.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your help.
Very
Man,
good.
appreciate
Very
it.
good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
We want to thank our sponsor, ARP-bolts.com, and of course the Grand National Roadster Show's 75th anniversary. Thanks for coming, and if you like what we see here, keep watching, and we'll keep telling you stories.